The part that most coverage gets wrong about modern air warfare is the frame. Fighter versus fighter. Radar cross-section versus radar cross-section. Which stealth aircraft turns tighter at altitude? These things matter. They are also not what the next Pacific War will be decided by. The next major air war will be decided by who destroys the other side's system first, not who kills the most jets. It's about who severs enough of the chain that those jets become unable to function. That chain has a name. It is called a kill chain. And the more you understand how a modern kill chain actually works, how many links it has, and how few you need to break, the more the competition between the United States and China looks like something entirely different from what gets reported. 6 steps. That is all a kill chain is. Find the target, fix its position, track its movement, target a weapon against it, engage, assess the result. In U.S. military doctrine, this sequence is formally designated F2T2EA. Find, fix, track, target, engage, assess. Each step has a different owner, a different platform, and a different point of failure. 6 steps means 6 places the chain can break. In World War II, a pilot completed all 6 steps alone, in seconds, from inside a single cockpit. Here is what that same chain looks like now. The find step runs through ground radar and a space-based constellation processing contacts continuously. Fix requires an airborne early warning aircraft correlating data from multiple sensors. Track runs through a data link architecture connecting dozens of platforms across hundreds of miles. Target requires a command decision node to authorize the engagement. Engage is a missile guided partly by its own seeker and partly by real-time updates from a separate platform. Assess happens via satellite imagery processed hours later on a different continent. 1 kill. Dozens of nodes, all of them required. Break any single one and the chain does not produce a result. This is the transformation nobody talks about. Modern warfare did not just add technology to the kill chain, it distributed the kill chain across an entire theater. The fighter jet is now the visible tip of a system that stretches from low Earth orbit down to sea level. And distributed systems can be attacked at any node, not just the expensive, fast-moving ones with missiles. Walk through the vulnerable ones. Tankers first. Guam, the closest major U.S. airbase to the Taiwan Strait, sits roughly 1,700 miles from any likely conflict zone. That distance exceeds the unrefueled combat radius of every tactical fighter in the U.S. inventory. Before a single F-35 reaches its patrol area, a tanker has to be on orbit, waiting. According to published Air Force doctrine, a single KC-46 on a standard orbit can service between 4 and 8 fighters per cycle. Remove that tanker mid-package and every aircraft it was supporting loses its ability to complete the mission. They abort, they divert. The offensive package collapses without a single shot fired at a single F-35. You do not have to kill the jets. You kill the gas. Airborne early warning is the next node. The E-3 Sentry, flying that mission since 1977, is approaching 50 years old. Its replacement, the E-7 Wedgetail, carries an electronically steered MESA radar capable of tracking over 180 airborne contacts simultaneously. But the transition is incomplete, and the E-7s that do fly are limited in number, irreplaceable at short notice, and, like the KC-46, large, slow, unarmed aircraft flying predictable orbits. Take one out, and dozens of fighters lose their clearest picture of the battle space. Then there is something most coverage skips entirely: the bases themselves. A fighter that cannot take off has already lost. The U.S. Air Force has spent the last decade quietly dispersing its Pacific posture across smaller, distributed airfields, precisely because Chinese ballistic missiles can target fixed runways with enough precision to put them out of service. This isn't a future scenario. It's already reshaping how the U.S. postures for a fight. And finally, the data links. Jam them, degrade them, and the force does not stop moving, but every platform reverts to whatever tactical picture it had when the link went down. China's anti-access and area denial strategy is confirmed doctrine, publicly described in People's Liberation Army publications and assessed annually in the Department of Defense's China Military Power Report. The goal is not to defeat the United States in a symmetrical fight. It is to make projecting power into the Western Pacific expensive enough that the United States either does not try, cannot sustain the effort, or decides the objective is not worth the cost. What is analysis, expert consensus rather than confirmed outcome, is how effectively this would actually perform in a conflict. The ballistic missile threat to carriers runs through the DF-21D and DF-26, what the U.S. defense community calls the carrier killer family. The DF-21D is a medium-range missile with a maneuverable re-entry vehicle and a range of roughly 1,500 kilometers, appearing in every DoD China military power report since 2010 as a system built to threaten carrier strike groups at sea. The DF-26 reaches further, 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers, putting Andersen Air Force Base on Guam within range from the Chinese mainland. Hitting a moving carrier is an extraordinarily difficult targeting problem. The missile needs its own real-time intelligence and reconnaissance to even find the target. But that is not really the point. The point is that its existence forces U.S. carrier planners to operate further from the coast than they otherwise would, whether it ever fires or not. Long-range surface-to-air systems extend the denial zone hundreds of miles offshore. Electronic warfare platforms target the data links that tie the force together, and the J-20, large-framed, long-ranged, carrying missiles internally to preserve its stealth profile, is designed to operate in the same range bands where U.S. tankers and airborne warning aircraft fly their orbits. Each system attacks a different node in the kill chain simultaneously. No single weapon needs to be decisive. The cumulative pressure on the network is the strategy. The response is active, and every fix comes with a cost. Agile Combat Employment, ACE, disperses aircraft across smaller, austere airfields, trading higher logistics complexity for survivability. The Pacific Deterrence Initiative, funded under the 2021 National Defense Authorization Act, pays for the infrastructure underneath it. Hardened fuel storage, dispersed munitions, and missile defense on Guam aimed squarely at the DF-26. On the tanker side, the unmanned MQ-25 Stingray extends the reach of F/A-18S and F-35CS into threat environments a crude KC-46 can't enter, though it doesn't solve the theater-wide fuel shortage. Only the close-in carrier mission and the AIM-260 Joint Advanced Tactical Missile exists specifically to restore the range advantage China's PL-15 took away. Every one of these is a patch on a specific weakness, not a fix for the system. ACE buys survivability at the cost of logistics complexity. The MQ-25 buys reach at the cost of fleet-wide coverage. Neither side has closed the gap, the other isn't still working to widen. One assumption has remained relatively stable through all of this. One layer of American Pacific power that the kill chain argument has not fully reached. Carrier aviation. A carrier strike group is not a fixed target. It has no address. It carries its own fighters, its own early warning, its own weapons, its own command infrastructure. It moves constantly. And for decades, the aircraft flying from American carriers had no stealth equivalent from Chinese carriers, not from the sea. That is changing. China has developed the J-35, a twin-engine stealth fighter built for carrier operations, intended to fly from the Fujian, China's newest carrier and its first with electromagnetic catapults. Unlike the ski jump ramps on China's earlier carriers, which cap takeoff weight and therefore combat radius, a catapult carrier launches a fully fueled, fully armed aircraft on every sortie, not a compromised version. The full aircraft. If the J-35 reaches operational integration on Chinese carriers, the one layer of American Pacific power that never had to worry about a peer stealth threat from the sea is now inside the kill chain problem. The carrier was the backstop, the platform that stayed viable even when land-based options got compressed. The backstop is now being targeted. What that means for U.S. carrier operations and whether the advantage they've held for 8 decades still holds is what the next briefing is about. You're in the war room. Subscribe for the next briefing.